Hiya for. So, chapter 26. Varjak opened his eyes. The sea was gone. Above his head a red strip light buzzed. He was back in the underpass, sprawled by the bins, in an acrid-smelling puddle. His face felt like raw meat. His friends were around him, looking worried. "Varjak," said Omar. "Can you hear me? Are you okay?" "I'm fine," he said, though his head ached and his body was sore. "You must have 9 lives," breathed Jess. "We thought you was finished there." Varjak coughed. There was blood on his fur. Did they know he'd lost the power? Surely they'd seen it. In the fight with the patrol, but no one said a thing about it. "What happened to the Bones' cat?" he asked. "They ran away," said Eliza Scratch. "Like your fat friend, Tam." So it was true. Tam had really gone. Varjak shook his head. He couldn't believe it. What was she thinking? "I miss her," said Omar. "She's a coward," grunted Ozzy. "We're better off without her," said Eliza. "We only need fighters here." Razor was crouched, shivering behind the others. He looked naked without his ears and tail, and so much smaller than before. "I heard what happened to Holly, Varjak," he croaked. "I'm sorry. I wish I could have helped her." His voice, once so brash, was little more than a whisper. "But Sally Bones saw straight through me. She knew I wanted to leave her gang and join you instead." "Leave the Bones?" said Jess. "Why would you ever do that?" Razor touched his newest, rawest wounds. "Varjak beat me in a fight, fair and square. He could have slashed me to pieces. He could have killed me. But he didn't." A smile broke out on his scar-torn face. "He's not like her. He's the kind of boss I always wanted." Varjak looked round at his friends, embarrassed. But they were staring at Razor with open hatred. Razor nodded at Jess. "I'm sorry about your ear, Jessie," he whispered. "I didn't want them to do it." He held out a paw to her. Jess flinched away. "Don't touch me," she shouted. "It was Varjak what saved you, not me. Far as I'm concerned, you're just a big bully, and you got what you deserved." "But I can help you," said Razor. "I'd do anything to get back at Sally Bones. Anything." "That don't make you our friend," said Jess. "How can we trust you after everything you've done?" "You can't," snapped Eliza. "It was stupid to save him. He can't fight any more. We should leave him behind." Ozzy scowled. "That's not fair." He stood shoulder to shoulder with Razor, bristling at Eliza Scratch. "There's no time to argue," said Omar. "That patrol will be back any minute with reinforcements. Varjak, make a decision. Does Razor come with us or not?" Varjak tried to gather his thoughts. His face still felt raw. Up above, the red strip lights buzzed on and off. He didn't know what to say. He trusted Razor. There was something in the tomcat's voice, something in his words that rang true. But looking at Jess with her torn ear, he knew he needed a better answer than that. "What you said about Razor is right, Jessie," he started. "He was a bully, and he did terrible things. And I hated him too back then." Razor's fur flattened. He looked ashamed. "But what Razor said is also right," Varjak carried on. "He knows Sally Bones and her territory better than any of us. He can help us make the city free again, like your grandma wanted, like Holly wanted. I can't make you agree with me, and if you don't want him with us, then he won't come, but shouldn't we give him a chance?" There was silence for a moment. Then very slowly, Jess nodded. Ozzy grinned and helped Razor up. Eliza spat on the ground. "You're too soft-hearted. There's no way he can help us. He's finished." She strode towards the exit of the underpass. Militia and Panisha followed. Razor turned to Varjak. "Thanks, boss," he croaked, his eyes wet. "I won't let you down." "Good," said Varjak, "because we need your help. How do we cross the river?" "The road bridge is the best way, but it's heavily guarded." "That's what we thought," said Varjak. "So we're crossing the railway bridge." Razor frowned. "No one goes on the railway bridge." "That's why we're doing it." They picked up the Scratch sisters and left the underpass. The sun had set now. Night was drawing in. A narrow flight of steps led up to the railway bridge. Behind them, traffic screamed by in a never-ending flow. "I haven't been here for years," said Razor. "We never use this bridge anymore." "We?" said Jess suspiciously. "I mean, they," coughed Razor. "You know who I mean. Trains go past all the time. If you're stuck up on the bridge when one comes through, splat, it's over." "It won't be guarded, will it?" said Varjak. "Shouldn't be, boss. Shouldn't be. Best wait for a train to go by and then cross right after it. We'll have to run fast. Even the biggest gaps aren't long." They climbed the steps. An empty, narrow platform ran alongside the railway track. They took up positions and waited for a train. Night had fallen, and a baleful-looking moon glowered down at them. A cold wind was rising. They could hear it moaning under the bridge, chopping up the river. Soon there was a rattling roar and an ear-splitting whistle. The platform began to shake. A train was approaching. Varjak had seen trains going over the bridge before, but from a safe distance. Now he was up close. He could feel the pressure on his face, squashing down his fur, pushing him back away from the track. It was like a hurricane. Howling through the night, the train roared towards them, its headlight blinding. The air seemed to thud and crack as it rushed by. Thud and crack, and thud and crack, and thud and crack. And then it was gone, and he was looking at its red tail lights trailing away. Varjak breathed. And only now did he realise he'd been holding his breath. "See?" said Razor. "It's a risk we have to take," said Varjak. "I don't like it," said Eliza Scratch. "There must be another way." "Don't be stupid," said Omar. "You can see for yourself. There's the road bridge, the railway bridge, and the river." "Who are you calling stupid?" snarled Eliza. "You and your brother are the stupidest cats I ever met." Ozzy stuck his big chest out. "I am not stupid." "The way you fight," laughed Militia. "No style at all, just brute force." "And the way you fight," snarled Omar, "hiding behind your claws, it's for weaklings." He looked at Panisha with her one ear. "You can't even defend yourselves." Panisha's pupils narrowed to slits. "Weaklings," she seethed, sharpening her claws. "Let's see who's a weakling. Let's finish this once and for all, so everyone knows who's the greatest fighters in this city are." "Let's," said Ozzy, mane rippling in the wind. Varjak's head hurt. This was impossible. If he still had the power, he could have shut them up. But he didn't. They were all bigger than him, stronger than him, tougher than him. Yet somehow he had to get them to work together. He needed them, for without them he'd never get near Sally Bones, and everything would be lost. But they were cats who had never accepted any leader. They were used to living free and wild. They didn't think they needed anything or anyone but themselves. Holly or Tam might have known how to talk to cats like this, but they were gone now, and Varjak couldn't do it on his own. "You know what?" he said. "If you're all such great fighters, then what's the point of me being here? You don't need me." Tam had the right idea. "I'm going back." He turned round, biting his tongue. The winter wind whipped into his ears. Below, traffic roared by, monstrous and indifferent. "No, Varjak, wait!" called Omar. "Come back, Paul," said Panisha Scratch. He turned. They were eyeing him warily. Razor laughed. "Know why they're so angry, boss? I'll tell you. It's because they know they're not the greatest fighters. None of them can touch Sally Bones. But you, boss, you can. And that makes them mad. A funny-looking cat like you. How could you be greater than the Scratch sisters or the Horrible Twins? How could—" "That's enough, Razor," snapped Panisha, silencing him. She turned to Varjak, fire in her eyes. "I'll say this much, Paul. You're the reason we're all here. You're the only one who's got a chance against the Bones. You cannot turn back from this." "Then do what he says," croaked Razor, "and stop arguing." "All right," muttered the sisters. and the twins. All right. Varjak looked at the railway track stretching into the night ahead of him. He shivered. Razor's words weren't much comfort. He knew he wasn't the greatest fighter. Not without his power, and not even with it. But Pernicious Scratch was right. There was too much at stake to turn back now. Okay, he said. Let's cross this river. Right, find out what's in chapter 27 tomorrow.